Sitaram viewers, and welcome to the Hindu Perspective, hosted by Swaha, a program of the Board of Swaha that seeks to bring enlightenment and understanding to many of the various tenets of Sanatan Dharma. Once again, on our program, we say special welcome to our senior Pandit, Pandit Gyandev Prasad, member of the Dharmandal of Swaha, and to the principal of the Swaha Hindu College, Pandit Ishwar Madhu Maharaj. Before we get into our program, of course, as is customary, we start with our opening prayer, and I will ask Pandit Ishwar once again to lead us in opening prayer.
Sitaram, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of the second season of the Hindu Perspective. I ask you all to bow your heads as we focus upon Gajanan Swami as we pray. We ask for blessings, guidance, for protection. We ask that Lord, who is Gyandata, the giver of knowledge, Vignaharta, that one who helps us to overcome obstacles and challenges. We ask him to bless us abundantly in our minds. Om Ganganapati Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Vigneshwaraya Namaha. Boliye Shri Gajanan Swami ki jai, Swaha Mata ki jai.
So thank you very much, Pandit Ishwar, and to our viewers, as was mentioned, this is our second program. And on our last program, you'd have heard a little bit about this period that we are in, which is the Kairos period, as well as you were greeted for the new year, and some other information was shared. We spoke about some of our Indo-Caribbean persons who have achieved in the field of sports, etc. And you have heard about the trust of Swaha in terms of, reigniting this movement. And this all is coming out of the fact that we are outside of the pandemic, and the pandemic would have led to some, situations where we could not have operated in the way that we were accustomed to. But of course, we are out of that period. We heard from the different pundits, the different sessions, the different temples, that would have had Shivratri celebrations. And of course, what were the message that was shared, and, the wonderful celebrations that were observed in all of our centers. Now, today we want to focus a little more on this period of Kairos. And one festival that is significant to this is Phagwa. So we are going to look at the genesis of Phagwa, this period of Holi, and what are some of the katha taken from our scriptures that deals with the genesis of this celebration. And to start us off again, as we normally do, out of reverence and respect, that we always go to our senior Pandit, Pandit Gyandev, who will lead off the discussions by telling us a little bit about the katha and the incidents that led to this Phagwad holy celebration. So Pandit Gyandev.
Thank you very much, Panditji. As you begin, I just want to let people know that's what happens the calendar, which is done by Pandit Ishwar Madhu Maharaj. And Pandit Ishwar can give us the dates when Kairos will start. Are readily available here. The 7th. So Kairos will start at that time. And those who need a Hindu calendar, so actually our terminal is all free every year. It has all the dates, all the important dates, all the celebrations, and many more information, good information for us as Hindus. So Kairos starts that time. I mentioned last time where there are certain alternate ways of praying. To put it simple. Now we're going to the story aspect of it, the history. So many people feel these things are mythology. All the scriptures have history. Our scriptures, but we have mythology. So the first thing I want to say is we should stop that foolishness. And talk about all scriptures and mythology. Somebody make it up. And they ain't sure it's true or not. It is true, it is a fact. So we have to stop that, and we have to advise our pundits also. Stop referring to that mythology. These are no myth. These are not make up. is real as the sky, which you can't see, but it's there. You can't verify, but it's there. This is scripture like that. So we'll deal with the history of how this period came about. Pandit mentioned about Holika Dahan. We'll hear about that. I'll pass on why Pandit just explain that. But basically, we are saying ever since Setu, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali Yuga even was, they're always evil people, always. Evil people who made the world all the time. So not just in Kali Yuga. So we had this evil man called Hiranyakasipu, and the nice name Hiranyakasipu. Nobody will name Macharan that, right? Just like nobody named Mishael Ravan, with the name there. And Hiranyakasipu did penance to Brahma, Parishwar, Brahma, and Parishwar can just go on from there. He did penance, what he asked for, what are the boons, and we can take it from there, what he asked for. Many times people ask, if I pray, what should I ask for? I tell him, Hanuman Chalisa is the answer. Because many demons prayed for all kinds of things. What do you pray for? Hanuman Chalisa tells us. Pray for devotion. Pray for that Lord to bless us at all times. But Hiranyakasipu wanted power. So what he asked for is Panajishwar. Panajishwar take it from him.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Panaji. So the reality is people always crave power, and it was no different thousands of years ago. And Vishnu Puran describes in detail, Bhagavad Mahapuran also has it, Shiv Puran also mentions it. So this katha, and it's a good point Panaji made. We, as followers of Sanatana Dharma of Hinduism, should cherish our scriptures, our religious books, the Puranas, Bhagavad Mahapuran, Ramcharitmanas, Bhagavad Gita. Understand that it is a katha. It deals with activities of the Divine Lord. It deals with statements made directly by the Lord himself, and would have, of course, been written down for all of us to remember and to follow. So stop saying it's mythology and questioning whether, many of these things are really history, whether they would have occurred. Put that out of your mind. Have faith. And there's a difference between faith and belief. If we have true faith, nothing will shake our belief then. True faith, we know that our scriptures are there for a purpose, and we can rely and look at the katha itself and derive certain, philosophy and guiding principles from them. So don't look at them as something that is just a story that's written by someone a few hundred years ago, 1,000 years ago. So people always crave power. His brother before him, Hiranyaksh, was destroyed by Vishnu Bhagwan in the avatar of the boar, Varaha. And so, having been destroyed, the brother now, Hiranyakashipu, was, developed an intense hatred for Vishnu Bhagwan. So wanting to find some way to, destroy Vishnu Bhagwan, if possible, but certainly to ensure that the worship and the prevalence, that love and devotion that individuals upon it had for Vishnu, he wanted to do something to remove all of that. And so he sought power. And worshipping Brahmaji, as Panagyandev said, after many years of tapasya, penance, austerities, he asked for certain boons. And the first thing he wanted is that he would not die. He wanted immortality. We just came out of Shivratri, and we would know that the Devatas and the Danavas both wanted the Amrit, which would give them immortality, the Amrit. Poison came out first, and that Amrit was actually consumed by the Devatas. But no mere mortal, right, or demon can be immortal in that way. So Brahmaji said, no, absolutely not. Immortality cannot be given to you. So then, thinking that he could deceive the creator, Brahmaji, he started asking for certain boons, all of which Brahmaji said, Tatastu, so shall it be. If this is what you want, what did he ask for? That if I have to die, I must neither die in the daytime nor in the night. I must not die neither inside nor outside, not by any known weapon, neither by any man, nor by any animal, neither by any, Devata, as he would have recognized, no Devata that was known to him, and no demonic force, no Asura, no Rakshasa. And he went on and on like that, neither up in the air, nor down on the soil, on earth. So these are the various things, dualities then. He's listing them out, not in this way, not in that way, but trying to deceive the Lord. Devotees, we could never deceive the Lord. No one has that power, supreme power, over the Paramatma, supreme Paramatma. So Hiranyakashipu was given the Baldan. Indeed, you wouldn't die in the day, you wouldn't die in the night, you wouldn't die up in the sky, in the air, neither on the ground, and so on. Sorry. And these were the Baldans or blessings or boons given to him. And with that, power that he derived, the strength and the confidence grew in Hiranyakashipu, and he amassed a huge army. And with this large army, he started wreaking havoc all over. So viewers, Hiranyakashipu, with his horde of followers, and it's interesting, sometimes it's easy to follow individuals who are not doing the right thing, because the correct thing to do may be the harder road to follow. It's not paved with, smooth, wonderful marble floor and so on. It may be rocky. It may be a little bit obstacles along the path. So those who saw quick gains, quick rewards, finances, material gain, gain of all different things, lust, cravings that they had were being fulfilled by Hiranyakashipu, this great demon king. And so many people flocked him and followed him, demonic individuals. And then all the noble individuals who were worshiping Lord Vishnu, he insisted that they stop their worship of Lord Vishnu and in fact worship him. So instead of chanting Om Hare Namah, Om Namo Narayanaya, they were forced to worship Hiranyakashipu. His own son, Prahalad, now growing up. And Prahalad, this is an important aspect of the Katha. Prahalad, while in his mother's womb, the mother, so special she was, such a devotee of Lord Vishnu she was, that she would chant mantras dedicated to Bhagwan Vishnu. And this is very instructive that all of us, when your wives and daughters and the females around us are in that way pregnant, encourage them to listen to mantras, stotras, bhajans, kirtan, go to satsang too. So Prahalad grew up while in the womb, growing and developing the womb, was hearing Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. He was born as a true devotee of Lord Vishnu. And he did not want to give up chanting the name of Lord Vishnu. Hiranyakashipu, on the other hand, thwarted by his own little son who is growing up, he decided to Yagyapavit and initiate him and get the Guruji now to take him when he would go to the Guru's ashram, that the Guru, who was already under the control of Hiranyakashipu, that he would force the son now, encourage him to give up his good way in chanting the name of Lord Vishnu and to start chanting his own father's name. But he was adamant, his father is not God. His father is his Pitaji. He has love and respect for him. But he recognized the atrocities of his father. He recognized his father was not God, the Supreme. There's only one Supreme. And devotees, viewers, he never gave up that belief. Nothing could shake the faith he had in his Lord, Vishnu Bhagwan. So this is, a large part of the Katha. There's a lot more to it. And I'll ask if Pandit Jaida wants to come in, or Pandit Gyandev. There's also Holika. There are various methods that Hiranyakashipu would have employed to get rid of his own son, Prahalad. But I want to hand over to Pandit Jaidat.
Okay, thank you very much, Pandit Ishwar and Pandit Gyandev. And you have heard a majority of the Katha, and I would just like to share some of my views on the points that were made. And the first one is this idea of immortality. And we all know when we hear our Katha, these Rakshas, these demons, they always ask for this. And we say that there is no immortality. But when we speak about no immortality, that refers to the body alone that is made up of the 5 elements. We say that whatever is born in this world has to die. But that does not apply to the Atman or the soul, because the soul is part and parcel of divinity and Bhagwan. And this is why, even in the case of when we read Katha from Sri Ramacharita, and we are told that, the key what he drank that Charanamrit, and he was liberated, his family were liberated, and that Amrit gives eternal life. It is not eternal life to the body, but is eternal life to the soul. So, when we speak about immortality, these demons, these rakshas, and many of us may feel this way, that we want to live forever. We try, and we see this happening in our society, that there's so many attempts, to try to reverse the aging process, to try to look younger, to use all of these products to hold on. Why is that? Because the misconception is there that the body is really the focus, when we are supposed to look deeper than that. There are 5 sheets of the human, not the body, but there are 5 sheets. And the anime kosh, that is just the first one, and that is the physical body. But there's more to us than that. And then the focus just becomes on this body and sustaining this body, maintaining this body, and we forget the spiritual part. So, I just wanted to make that point, that really, who are we? Are we the body? We are more than that. We are that soul. We are part and parcel of divinity. And if we recognize that there is immortality of Bhagwan. The second thing, as Pandit Ishwar mentioned, is that when this Hiranyakashipu, he came into power, that he, together with his followers, they were discouraging the recitation of the name of Satyanarayana Swami and puja and all of that. And this ties in with a point that we made last week. So we are seeing whatever we spoke about last week, that we are seeing it in our scriptures. I believe it was Pandit Ishwar or Pandit Gyandev that mentioned the importance of the Hindi, and that, sometimes we see it more and more now, and we say, well, people need to understand. So that we take the bhajan and we translate it, and then we sing it in English with the same tune as the bhajan, and we believe that is bhajan, and we call it English bhajan. But that cannot be so, as was said last week by both Pandits, that the use of the words, the mantras, how the words are constructed, that in itself has certain energies and certain powers that brings positive vibration. Now, in this case, what is happening? That society is becoming very weak, and it had this dominant force in the form of Hiranyakasipu. And by ensuring that no one is reciting the name of Bhagwan, then what happens? When you recite the name of God, and that creates positive energy, it means that all of the negativities are, dissipated. But if no one is reciting mantras, or mantras, being recited only by a few persons, then it means that you're going to see an increase in negativity in that society. And therefore, this is the foundation for the decline of everything that is righteous and for the decline of dharma. And so, as Pandit mentioned, this is what was taking place at that time. And when Prahalad, he came back to the home of that father, the father, was excited, of course, believing that that son, the guru would have taught that son, not to worship Satyanarayana Swami, but to worship him and see him as God. And of course, in a nutshell, when he realized that that wasn't the case, and he tried in all different ways, asking that son of him, who is Bhagwan, who is God? And his surprise and, more dismay that that son, did not say, oh, Father, you are God. Already Father is God, but not Satyanarayana Swami. And try as he may, he was unable to convince that child. And then he decided that he doesn't want that child, and he is going to destroy that child. He tried in different ways, and I know that the scriptures will describe them. But some examples, he threw him in a pit filled with snake, placed him in front of rogue elephants, threw him off a cliff. All of those things were attempted to destroy the life of Prahalad, to snuff out the life of Prahalad. But Prahalad's mind was never focused on those, situations. That his mind was always on Bhagwan. And that is the lesson there. That, of course, in life, there are situations. Whether those situations affect us or not, it really depends on where the mind is at. So that if the mind is always on God, if the mind is always focused on Bhagwan and divinity, then those things don't matter. It has no effect on us. And that was the situation. And one attempt on the life of Prahalad was done by the sister of Hiranyakasipu, whose name was Holika. And Holika had this, this boon. She had this ornhi that when she placed it over her head, that she would not be burnt or affected by fire. A fire was lit. And of course, the trust, we trust certain persons. And, if we betray children, that is a discussion we can have today also. And that Prahalad would have trusted her, being the auntie or the poor, whatever term you want to use. And she sat upon that pyre, she called that child, she placed that urn on overhead, and she called that child to sit upon her lap. And when that child was sitting there, that pyre was lit. When the pyre was lit, of course, screams are heard, and everyone believed that that was the end or the demise of Prahalad. When that fire was out, it was said that this child, this Prahalad, was there, singing the name of Bhagwan and playing on those ashes. And that was the birth in this period of Karavas. And that really is the genesis of Holika Dahan. And how this Haranakasipu, the demise of Haranakasipu, we can probably pass over to Pandit Gyandev, who can just wrap up the katha first. Panditji.
Thank you, Panditji. Some pertinent points that you mentioned. I just want to take out some pertinent point, extrapolate, because many people know for a fact in Hinduism, we say, Tomeva Mata, that your father is God. But here Prahlad is saying, Father, I'm not listening to you. How do we reconcile the statement that Prahlad is saying, I'm not going to listen to you? It is simple. Hiranyakasipu is telling Prahlad, I am God. But he went to an extreme limit and saying what? Do not pray to Vishnu Bhagavan. So if your father is telling you he is God, fine, yeah, Father, recognize you as God. But don't tell me do pray to God. That is where he went wrong. So this is why he was destroyed eventually. So we have to understand that. It multiplies the question, why did Prahlad disobey his father? Because his father told him, do not pray to Vishnu Bhagavan, pray to me. Yes, I can pray to you, Father. Tomeva Mata Chipta Tomeva. But don't tell me to pray to Vishnu Bhagavan. That is where he went wrong. Secondly, Hiranyakasipu, it is something which is prevalent in Kali Yuga. People want to kill their own children. Some at birth, some before birth. This is something we have to address, issues in our country. People, recently I read so many papers, fetus have been found in bins and so on. People bring forth a child for a few weeks or months and then destroying it. In this case, this Hiranyakasipu wants to destroy that fully grown child who is praying to God. And it must be emphasized that he was not destroyed, that is Prahlad, because he had full faith in God. When he took up the top of the mountain and they were going to throw him, he didn't say a ball and get on, oh, God, look what I'm going to do, man. I pray to you. No. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Focus on God and pray. Have faith in God. And this was mentioned before by the Pandits. So in this katha, we have that also. Have faith in what you do. And my mind goes back to many people, all Pandits do counseling. People come to you with a problem. The first question I normally ask them, do you pray? And then I follow the next question, how often? Once a year? Do you have faith in God? They want, but you can't go very Pandit to help, to get help. That is fine. But if Pandit help you, he'll pray for you, but you must pray for yourself also. And in Trinidad, that seems to be a prevalent now, very prevalent. They have 2x4, I don't call them Swami, wherever they come from India and so on, and have an advertisement, so-and-so number, call me, your wife leave you want money, you want to get a big house, come with me, I'll help you. Now, these are foolishness. People have faith in other stupidness except God. It reminds me of fellas. Hanuman Chalisa have it what? Bhoot Abhisad Nikat nahi aave, jab Mahabir naam sunave. But long time, what fellas do? Smoke cigarette. When they shoot inside out. Back in the house. Do all kind of foolishness. But they tell them, pray to Hanuman Swami. They don't want to do that. So all the problems we have, God is the solution. And a simple question, is there any power greater than the power of God? Is there any power greater than the power of God? Of course not. So pray to God. Pandit will help you by praying for you. You pray for yourself also. But don't have belief in things that are fleeting, have no value really. Just stupidness, superstitions. Prahlad was not like that. He had faith in Vishnu Bhagavan. And that faith came from, where? There's an incident, he said, where there's this potter in this kiln where they put the things to cure in the heat. The parai and the kalsa and the diya and so on. And they lit it. And then what happened? Intense heat for a clay pot to become properly formed. And there was a cut inside here. And then the potter, somebody told him there's a cut inside here. He said, what can I do now? It's already lit. And Prahlad told him, pray to God. Let's have faith in God. If God is the real and he is real, he will save that cat. And what happened? The kiln was extinguished, and out the kiln came the cat. All the DNA and parenting was real, was paka, was finished, completely made, but the cat never died. And when you have the point comes in here, when you have the experience of God, this is why I invite everybody to join us in Sunday morning service. Sit down on Sunday morning service with the congregation, sing a bhajan, sing kirtan, offer puja, like for Shivratri, experience divinity, then you'll benefit. So I'll pass on to Ishwar. Remember all these points. Have faith in God, and Prahlad had faith, and he couldn't be killed. What happened to him eventually? We'll hear about Otar, who came to save him. All of us, God will come personally, He can come in various forms. But Prahlad, in his case, God came in a special form, a form highly people know about. So I'll pass on to Ishwar, who can elaborate on this. Panditji.
Thank you, Panditji. So the reality is, Prahlad stood firm in his belief. His faith was unshaken, his love for Bhagwan Vishnu. And his father, after having tried or almost exhausting all possibilities, all methods to destroy him, even using his sister and the sister Holika, who was even so blessed to have special powers, and the special Urni that was blown away, Prahlad remained, continuing to chant the name of Lord Vishnu. And so Hiranyakashipu, angry, hurt, upset, imagine he's been embarrassed now by his own son. So his servants and the army, the generals, all the ministers are following him, praying to him, Hiranyakashipu, but his own son will not be, he will not be shaken. He remains firm in his belief for Lord Vishnu. Till Hiranyakashipu had to intervene himself. He decided that if no one else could do it, he has to take the life of his own son. But threatening him and hoping that, he would still change his ways if he were to threaten him. And listeners and viewers, questioning his son, Prahlad, he's asking him certain questions to tell him where his God is. And it's a question we often hear. Where is our Lord? Where is God? And how many forms of God do you know? He asked him, he said, if your God is here, there, and everywhere. Then they were in the palace. He said, there's this pillar, beautiful pillar. He says, your Lord in that pillar? He said, certainly, my Lord is inside that pillar. He said, well, if your Lord is inside of that pillar, that post, let him save you now. Come out and save you. And viewers, as we know, that time, it was getting close to a particular time that, we call twilight or dusk. And Prahlad, continuing to pray, Om Namo Narayana, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, praying again and again to Lord Vishnu. Eventually, the Lord appeared to confirm that belief of Prahlad and to eradicate Hiranyakashipu, that wicked individual. From out of the pillar, he appeared in the form of Narsingh Bhagwan, form of Lord Vishnu, the fifth major avatar of Lord Vishnu, and rather the fourth avatar of Lord Vishnu, and half man, half lion, as the pictures would, and the description is given, not necessarily half lion, half man, but this is how it appears when we look at it, the physical form, and devotees in an instant, he was able to destroy Hiranyakashipu. All the conditions that he had put, the conditions that he had asked to be satisfied by Brahmaji, that he should not die in the day nor in the night. He asked him, he said, oh, Hiranyakashipu, he said, you wanted to die neither in the day nor the night. What time is it? He said, well, it is twilight, it's dusk. Sun has just set, but it's not yet night. He said, he put him on his lap. He said, are you up in the sky? Are you in the air? He said, no. Are you on the ground? He said, no, I'm on your lap. And then holding his hands out, his claws, he said, are these any weapons, any man-made weapons that you know of? No. These are your hands, O Lord. And devotees, in an instant, he destroyed him. All the, the Gyan, we may say, whatever wisdom, creative thinking of Hiranyakashipu to try and outsmart the Lord, that didn't work at all. He was killed. He was destroyed. Prahlad remained. Prahlad, just as the father sitting on the, was placed, Hiranyakashipu was placed on the lap of the Lord for him to be killed. Prahlad afterwards would sit on the lap of Bhagwan as a true devotee, as a son, a devotee of Bhagwan Narsingh. So he was protected, he was saved. And this katha reaffirms our belief in a number of things. One was mentioned by Pandit Gyandev, Pandit Jaidat also, mantra recitation. Have that belief in our mantras or bhajans. Simple mantra like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. It's so easy to chant other things and to get caught up, singing other types of songs, especially a time like this. Remember yesterday, I'm saying yesterday, last program, we spoke about the mantras and the songs that we sing have Shakti, Shab Shakti within them. So to all our mantras, they're powerful and they become even more powerful the more often we use them. And one thing I want to say, one point before I hand over to Pandit Gyandev again, you would notice that, to Pandit Jaidat, sorry, Prahalad, even when his Guruji told him, his father would told him, insisting, would ask him to stop chanting the name of the Lord and to worship him, call his own father name as the Lord. He refused. Gurus and so many others would ask him, trying to corrupt his belief in the Lord. He was unshaken. We have to be like that, dear viewers and listeners. And one thing that I recall, again, we mentioned it last week, Sri Ram himself said it to Lakshman, be very careful. He says sometimes our pathway are obscured. Green grass grows up on that path, and that's the analogy that he used. He says because our scriptures, or divine scriptures, Ramayana, Bhagavad Mahapuran, Shiv Puran, Vishnu Puran, even Bhagavad Gita has become corrupted and misinterpreted, adulterated by the different commentaries and different pronouncements and statements by people who we could term as Pakhandis, just out to, deceive others. Pandit Gyandev used the term 2x4, right? We all know what that is. Right? Be careful who you follow and who are the ones that you trust. You have your Pandits of Swaha, you have your Sanatanist Pandits. Not just our Swaha Pandits, there are many other noble Pandits in our country, but make sure that the Guru and the Pandit that you follow is one that is leading you in the right way. And if there's something that you find to be contradictory, then you could do your own introspection, you could get proper guidance, but at the same time, do not follow anything blindly that goes against all the teachings that you have learned growing up as a Hindu, as a follower of Sanatan Dharma. Pandit Jaidat?
Thank you very much, Pandit Ishwar. And of course, he would have explained, the conclusion to the katha as well as given some points. Now, we could have some discussions, and we have three of us here, but we have experienced pundits here also, and I could act as a facilitator in some instances here because questions are asked to us, and one of them, just to go a little deeper into one of the points that was brought up by Pandit Gyandev, we always told that our parents are our first guru, and we have to respect our parents, but there are situations where a father may not be in terms of lifestyle, someone who may be an alcoholic. These are just the realities. How do we align what takes place? So of course, you have a father in your home, and you mentioned the mantra Tumaya Mata Chapita Tumaya, we say, our parents, our first guru. But you have fathers who may be alcoholics, they may be drug users, they may be rapists, pedophile, all of that. And we are told that we are supposed to respect our fathers, we are supposed to respect our parents in situations like that. Then how do we reconcile that? So Panditji, we can take the discussion a little more into the social part of it, which is the realities that we face. And many of our devotees, they want to understand how do we reconcile what takes place in our scriptures to what happens in the life that they live on a daily basis. So that is one question that came up, and how do we reconcile that? So I'll just ask both Pandits if you can make a contribution.
Good question, Pandit. And as in the Katha of Prahalad, he never raised his hand for his father. He never retaliated. He tolerated it. And he did what he can to the best of his ability. That is, pray and avoid doing anything to become like him. So Prahalad's father, Hinaka's wanted to kill Prahalad. Prahalad never said, I want to kill you back. so that, first of all, you not reciprocate the action of others in a negative way. What we do, you try to rise above that. In the real world, how that happens? You hear many times people retaliate because of anger, because of pride, because of they have so-and-so person watching them and watching what they will do. You have to act for the benefit of yourself. And remember, your father is always your father. No matter how he is, he's still your father. So you avoid anything that will be detrimental to you or to him. So Prahlad never did anything. And recognizing the end of time, when Narasimha Bhagwan appeared, Prahlad didn't know anything his father. You know what Prahlad asked for? Narasimha Bhagwan burst him in two, his father, and threw him left, right, far, miles. And then he was so angry. And there are different points. Does God get angry? And there are at least 3 instances in scriptures where God loses temper. This is one of them. He lost his temper. You know why? Because the innocent child was being chastised by a wicked father. That this translates means karma. So when Hiranyakasipu got destroyed, Narasimha Bhagwan asked Prahlad, what do you want? Prahlad said, oh, Bhagwan, Narasimha, please give my father liberation. So after all that, the son still had in his mind for his father to seek liberation. We can recognize he is still his father. So his lessons for all of us. Your father may be acting negatively, maybe acting adharmic, but you don't have to put that in your heart. And Krishna Bhagavan Gita said, don't hate anybody, especially your parents. So you don't have to hate them. Just let go through it, and hopefully time will correct them, or God will correct them. So Prahlad asked for his liberation. So anybody whose father treats them badly, you tolerate it, you avoid it, you have a legal system, report it, you have homes you can go, whatever you can do, avoid confrontation and don't get angry and do seek vengeance. God is there, better known as karma. Hiranyakasipu was destroyed by Narasimha Bhagwan, and Prahlad asked for his father, who did so many evil things, to be given liberation. That is the height of forgiveness and what we know today. So some people think that is stupid. That is not stupidness. That is the reality of we are developing ourselves. We don't want to become like Hiranyakasipu. They hate him, they kill him, you must kill and hate too. No, you'll be above that. You'll be part of devotion. So I'll pass on to Ishwar to give his perspective on this important question that Jayadad has asked.
Yes, Panditji. So for me, and this is something I want to put to the viewers, quite often we see that parents are not living up to the high expectations that we would want our parents to live up to. Parents are not the best exemplars, and they quite often, they're human, they make mistakes, but some, bordering, I don't want to say evil, but may genuinely be bad mothers and fathers, right? Quite often we see bad fathers more often. So I'm saying, and I'm putting it to our viewers and to Pandit who asked the question, because you have a bad mother or a bad father, doesn't mean that you have to be a bad son. So continue to do the good that you know to do. Do what you have to do as a follow-up Sanatan Dharma. As a son, continue to help and encourage, even if your father, goes down the wrong path and is engaged in evil activities, wicked activities, and may even be condemning you and hurting your mother and other siblings, still try. Show him love, show him consideration, and maybe he may mend his ways, or slowly but surely something may change. Something will click inside there and he may change. So remain good. Do not give up your good ways because others, perpetrate bad and evil against you. So be like Prahlad. Another example I give, and this is one that we all know, Sri Ram. And Sri Ram could have hated Kekeyi Mata for what she asked for, but he showed tremendous love and consideration to her, even though because of what she asked for, he had to endure 14 years, and including 14 years of exile, 1 whole year out of separation of his beloved Sita Mata. But he still showed that love for Kekeyi, so much so that when he returned, he went first to her, and then of course went to Kaushalya, his own mother, his own biological mother, as we may say. And why? Because he understood that for 14 years perhaps, and this is, one way to explain it. There are a number of other reasons if we go into deep philosophy. But one of the simplest reasons is that for 14 years, she would have held on to that guilt and that hurt people looking at her and hating her and condemning her for all that she would have done. And the Lord understood that of all of them who needed, consoling, and of all of his family members and the three mothers, the one who needed him most at that moment was KK. And so he went to her. He didn't hate her. He didn't show her any lack of consideration. So if he could do that after she asked for him to go 14 years in the forest in exile, then who are you and I, right? Viewers, Panaji.
So thank you very much for your views. And of course, I share the same sentiments. And of course, there are situations that we may not be able to handle ourselves. So, there's Alcoholic Anonymous and all of these things. And, sometimes love is not only protection. So I'm just sharing my view here that sometimes, you may have a parent and that parent may not be the ideal parent, as we are saying. These are just the realities of the society in which we live. And, being a good son or a good child is not protecting that person. For example, you don't protect that person from a crime that may have performed. But of course, you try your best to use the institutions of the country to try to get help for that person. And sometimes that may be the best way that you can express that love to that person. You can express consideration by getting the right help. That there are certain things that you cannot condone. And of course, as Panditji, both are saying that you don't hate, you don't turn your back on your parents and those who are close to you, but of course you use the right systems to try to get the necessary help so that emotionally, psychologically, those persons will be better off. Now, there are one or two other issues and points I'd like to raise. And one of them again, and Panditji, you've been in a school, both of you being principals, you can speak to this. And this idea of, children and their innocence. Now we see the situation of Holika, and that child would have had that faith and trust in Holika, and she would have betrayed that trust, in short. And sometimes these things leave psychological scars. And as parents or as elders, we may not understand that sometimes the things that we do, promises that are made to children, if those things are broken, or that children turn to us and they have 100% faith in us, and if we betray that sometimes there are lasting effects of that. And these things are manifested when children attend school, the way that they interact with others, in the way they interact with their peers, with their teachers and their elders. So, just for our viewers, to both our pundits, so that our viewers understand the importance of, never betraying the trust of children and never, betraying that innocence. Maybe you can give us examples from the system, the school system. You don't have to call names, obviously, we can't do that. But, where you may have seen instances of children acting out, or where this type of betrayal manifests itself, the way it has done so, and, how this really takes away from the development of our country, from the development of a young person, and of course, the advantages or disadvantages that you experience in life. So I don't know, any one of the pundits can start with your contribution.
So, I would just like to read from this document here. It says the Convention on the Rights of the Child. This is a UN document adopted by Trinidad and Tobago. And it says here, Article 19, protection from abuse and neglect. Now, in Hiranyakasipu and Prahlad days, UN was not existent then, but God was existent. But now as time goes on, what happened? We have institutions that came about. They are supposed to protect children. So Article 19 says the state, and whatever state we're talking about, which have adopted this, Trinidad is one of them, shall protect the child from all forms of maltreatment by parents or others responsible for the care of the child, and establish appropriate social programs for the prevention of abuse and treatment of victims. In schools, we have that. Ishwar can elaborate on that. You have the Children's Authority established. Yeah. You have so many things established to ensure children are protected. Teachers are supposed to protect children also. So many institutions are there. You have the police. You have so many institutions. UN has adopted this and Trinidad adopted this. Article 20, protection of a child without family. children have been born without family orphans, whether the parents died, whether the parents should have been at birth, whatever. Sometimes we say we are human beings, but the actions are worse than animals. That is reality. The state is obligated to provide special protection for a child deprived of the family environment and to ensure that appropriate alternative family care or institutions placement is available in such areas. Efforts to meet this obligation shall pay due regard to the child's cultural background. And this is why I was amazed, flabbergasted, and disappointed. There's a certain Hindu organization who said, we don't believe to have children home. We don't believe in that. They are not educated. They have never read this apparently. You must take care of your child according to cultural background. This is why Swara has the children's home. We bring you there. You understand what children are about. This is why we have like Prahlad Katha to explain to us how children are treated and what must be done. So we are Swaha not going on that road. We have children's home. We look at our children. We have the schools. We have preschools. Sad to say, it's not been established. For some reason, been held back. We want to look after our children culturally, spiritually, emotionally, but the school has not been built. What our reason? Carnival, how much money spent Carnival? If you want to enjoy yourself, fine. But what happens to children? So does the government really stand up and take this seriously to spend resources for children development? And after Carnival, believe me, we'll have that all wanted children. It's a fact. Family planners always say that. After Carnival, a lot of children come up. You know where they come from. But the state is supposed to take care of these children and with the cultural background. This is why we have the Concordat. So we have Hindu schools, Hindu preschools, and we are given that right to look after all children from a cultural and religious background. So there's much more we can say about this, which we'll deal with later on. I'll pass on to Ishwar, who is a principal, who is experiencing on a daily basis children who come into him. 607 children on a daily basis. How to deal with them? Some to have children, some to have parents, some to have food to eat. School feeding programs up. What's going on? The state taking it seriously or looking after children? So today we are making a conscientious effort. And we are asking, the state must stand up and spend resources on the children. The children are our future. As one puts it, it is, the future of our nation lies in the school bag of our children. But I just words apparently. So Panishwar, you have much more to say on it as the principal of Swar Hindu College.
So Panaganda would have mentioned a lot of it, and I can tell you that, you know, the Children's Act of 2012, I believe, Sexual Offences Act, there's so many statements, so many of these sections that actually deal with how we are to assist where children are being abused. And one thing I want to make clear, throughout our school system, not just at Swar Hindu College and our Swaha schools, we are aware that children are being abused on a daily basis. If anyone has witnessed or has evidence of such, or if a report was made to you, then it is your bounden duty to actually report it further so that police can investigate and Children's Authority can get involved and ensure that that child gets the justice that they deserve, and if necessary, be removed from that home, because we have many children are facing tremendous acts of abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and family members sometimes shy away from reporting it because they are protecting each other, and the children are suffering. We see it in the school where we recognize children lashing out, and when you check, perhaps it stems from the same abuse, sexual abuse at home, so they act out in school. There's substance abuse, so they're looking at an abusive father and the way in which the father abuses the mother. Children are frustrated and they act out on their own. A lot of the abuse that we see, and a lot of the children that sometimes are being disciplined and reprimanded in school, you know, it is not Panaganda. I'm sure you'll agree with me. So I feel as though we don't need to suspend the children, but the parents who need to be disciplined, the parents who are acting irrationally and being quite unfair, unjust. And they are the ones that are struggling. They are the ones that are getting away. The children will face the consequences and will be suspended from school and will come back after 5 days, 7 days. But their parents continue to perpetrate atrocities against other members of the family and in the community. What system is there in place? There's the community police, yes. There's the Student Support Services Division of the ministry. But it's not enough, and I can bravely say it is not enough, because I know they will agree. The ministry has also admitted it's a shortcoming. Every school does not have a guidance counselor and a school social worker. Every single school should have a school social worker and a guidance officer, two separate posts, not one to do the both jobs, because our children are suffering, and these are the people that are trained and can deal with it. So when you have one guidance officer for 5, 6 schools, or one social worker for the whole district, or two for an entire district, how can they deal effectively with all the issues that we have? And then if they have to deal with issues, they must have the resources to deal with issues. And I could say this, and it may seem strange, there are occasions where we have had the unfortunate reality that we would have had to call the police. And sometimes they say, well, they cannot come because they don't have a vehicle. So we have to wait. They have to wait. It's ridiculous in this country in 2023 that sometimes that is reality. And forgive me, I say so without any prejudice. I'm not saying anything against our police service or the Ministry of Education, but this is the reality. So things are not ideal. We are very far from being. We talk about being a developing country, close to first world status. We are very, very far from it still. There's a lot more that has to be done. A lot more in terms of resources, in terms of the institutions being developed. And I want to say that a lot more, I think, needs to be invested into proper homes and proper institutions to look after children who are suffering. SWAHA has been trying under the astute leadership of our Parmachar, and we have the Dharmpatni of the Parmachar, who also is currently in charge of the Vishok Bhavan home and that board of SWAHA that does wonderful work in Pinal. But this is just one example. I wish we could have a home in every single district in Trinidad and Tobago for the benefit of our children who are suffering. Enjoy that.
So thank you, and definitely that impassionate contribution from both pundits, and obviously they are living this every day and they are seeing this, and we're sure that other institutions, other boards would be facing the same reality. And in a system that maybe have shortcomings, we have to be careful in the things that we say. That obviously there are shortcomings in the system. And as Pandegyandev said, our society now is different. We have conventions, we have ministries, we have systems that are supposed to take care of these things. And while they do not work all of the time, it means that our parents and at the home level, that we are supposed to ensure that children get the right experiences, that they get the right love, they get the right care. And of course, in bringing up our children like that, then they become valuable to our society. So that we come full circle back to what we were talking about and tying it in with the kata. We have seen today, taken from our scriptures, this kata of Hiranyakasipu and what he did to that child. And of course, in the case of Prahalad, he was an outlier in the sense that he was a full bhakta of that Lord. But how many other children would face a situation like that and would come out unscathed? Not many. And so what we're asking as we wrap up this program is that for our parents to be mindful of these things, that whatever you do, every single action has an impact upon your children. And these are the same children who will have to go out into the society, be citizens, make their contribution. And if they are not being developed in the right way, then of course, our future is going to be bleak. That wherever they may be, in school, in the workplace, then they're not going to make their contribution. They're not going to live out their full potential. All right. So, as we wrap up, that is my closing comments, just to make that appeal to parents to be mindful, look at the actions of Hiranyakasipu and understand that in not all situations, that child is going to come out unscathed. In many, many instances, that attitude of the parent, whatever you may deem as important to you and valuable to you, may not be what is in the best interest of that child. So I'll pass over to Pandit Gyandev, Pandit Ishwar for your closing comments. And of course, we'll bring today's program to an end.
Thank you, Panditji. I'm imploring all, try and be like Prahalad. Try and be a child like Prahalad. You may not be as Sri Ram or as Krishna, but Prahalad. Have devotion, don't hate your parents, don't hate the elders, and flow the system, and have perfect faith in God, and He will look after you. Sitaram, Pandit Ishwar.
And viewers, I just want to remind everyone that, of course, we have celebrations throughout our country for Pagodas coming up. A big feature of this, the precursor to the actual fun and chautal singing and so on, is the Holika Dahan. So in various centers of Swaha, there will be Holika Dahan being done. I'm sure you can check social media and you will get information that will be shared with you. Go out, support, have fun, good, clean fun. And when I say fun, yes, enjoy yourself. But remember what we are saying. Sing the right types of songs. Do so with proper intention. Have faith and belief, knowing that you are praying to the Lord also. So do have a wonderful week until our program next time. And we will be dealing with, other relevant issues as they come up, such as Navratri. And as the weeks go by, we'll let you know more and more for future programs. Sitaram, everyone.
Yeah.